and I work with my wonderful colleagues here at the DIFC Fintech Hive. And since 2017, we've been accelerating fintech around the world. Now, more importantly, we also work with financial institutions, bank and insurance companies on identifying fintech priorities for the year. Now, every year we develop a bit of an intelligence report on what we think are trends for the upcoming year. And I'm here today to share with you what we think are up and coming in the fintech and insurtech industries this year. Now, I do have some slides prepared, but hopefully this will kind of shed some numbers as to what we see is going on globally in fintech. First things first, is fintech even a thing? So what I have here on the slide are the fintech investment numbers since 2017. Now, naturally, because we went through a pandemic last year, you'll see that in 2020, investment numbers dropped. But as of Q1 this year, the numbers are back up again. Now, the total value of investment in fintech is going up, though the numbers are decreasing. And the reason behind that is because larger tickets, larger investment tickets are being made into a more focused group of fintech. Now, what's important to take away from this is that though the world went through a pandemic last year, investment in fintech did not null. It was still there, it was still around, and it's picking up pace again this year. Now, I'd also like to share with you the fact that the pandemic is the reason why the 2020 numbers had dropped. And if you look at total funding numbers, actually worldwide, bar Australia and Oceania, numbers dropped, indicating that there must have been something of a global nature that took place last year affecting the industry, hence the pandemic. But like I mentioned, investment is picking up again in Q1 this year, and we're very happy to kind of spearhead the innovation in the Middle East from the DIFC here in Dubai. Now, we tend to focus on 6 key areas, and I'm going to take you through what are some of the trends in these areas, beginning with banking tech and insurtech as well. Now, mind you, because we do have insurance partners, we always have a dedicated spotlight on what's going on in the insurance industry. We'll also be looking into RegTech, so all things that are relating to regulation, and that kind of is relevant for banks and insurance companies alike. Now, moving back into the financial payments industry side of things, we'll look into payments and a deep dive there, as well as lending and credit and financing, and last but not least, investment technology. Now, let's kick things off with banking tech, better known as banking infrastructure technology. First things first, internet first banks. Now, what are internet first banks? These are challenger banks, meaning banks with no physical space. Now, the use case here is that there's an opportunity for bundled services and products by neobanks that are appearing. Initially, as neobanks popped up around the world, so think Venmo, Revolut, they really focused on offering one product and specializing in creating a wonderful experience around that. The opportunity now is for these companies to bundle together, acquire other fintechs, expand their offering, and so on. And in fact, some of them even offer now non-financial products and services along with their traditional banking product suite. Next up in the banking infrastructure space is open banking. And if there's one thing I heard a lot of over the last year out here in Dubai is open banking, open banking, open banking. What open banking effectively does is it allows for better exchange of data, let's say, amongst the financial ecosystem. Primarily, when this data flows well between banks and fintech companies, we see a new world of startups appear who are able to provide an experience and front-end product suite whilst communicating with the banks on pulling the customer's data. Now, supporting all this is, of course, business intelligence. Now, customer data is playing a big role, not just in deciding what the new products are, but also improving customer engagement. More and more, our banking partners come to us saying, we want to understand our customers better. We want to know how to talk to them, upsell to them, provide more or less emotional banking, along with a hyper-personalized product offering. So we're no longer grouping people in personas, but we're really looking at customers as individual people and providing something as, let's say, tailored and recommended as your Spotify playlist or your Netflix recommendation watch list. The last area within banking infrastructure is all things automation. Now, automation will help handle the negative prospects of losses and the shrinking of revenues because it just makes ops tighter. And that basically is applicable to branch, product, and workflows rationalization, as well as better data management of both structured and unstructured data within banks. Now, if we look at the total funding numbers and value of deals within the banking infrastructure and tech space, I have here a nice little chart that basically said that as of Feb this year, there were about 34 investments being made into the space worldwide. Now, moving on, I'd like to talk about what's going on with insurance. First and foremost is insurance solutions. And basically, AI has come to take over, and AI is being applied in the areas of underwriting and processing. Now, in addition to that, blockchain applications have been really picking up in the space as well, particularly when it comes to identifying and validating policy and policy storage. And last but not least, there has been a lot of activity in terms of dynamic and customized premium generation. Now, moving on from that is internet first issuance. And this basically means branchless, let's say, sales within the insurance world. So we're moving away from physical models of insurance distribution and looking at online insurance models where the end-to-end insurance world can be processed. So we're talking everything from policy issuance through to claims. And last but not least, specialized insurance has really become a thing. So on the point of hyper-personalized, let's say, banking and financial industry products and services based on data, the demand for personalized and customized insurance products is also very relevant, particularly when it comes to things like pay-as-you-go insurance. I don't know if you guys have heard of Bima here in the UAE, who are doing customized insurance products and services, and primarily kind of on the backstep of COVID-19 being a health-related global crisis, clubbing wellness-related features along with global insurance has also become very prevalent. Going into the investment numbers here as well, we can see that as of February 2021, total investments in the insurtech space were made at around 40 deals globally. Now, moving on to RegTech. RegTech tends to be the least exciting area, but by far the most important, because RegTech is how banks help protect all things consumer and corporate related. Now, let's begin with AML. AML stands for anti-money laundering, as the abbreviation suggests, if you're familiar with the banking world. Now, this has become especially prevalent with the rise of crypto. I don't know about you guys, but all I hear about in the news these days is Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and the banking world that is currently actually embracing all these alternate payments needs to make sure that it is able to have very stringent transaction monitoring in order to avoid fraud. Next up in the sphere of RegTech are trends around data and data storage, particularly when it comes to local and cloud-hosted data warehouse solutions for financial institutions. Now, for those of you who are dialing in from the region, in case you don't know, but having your data hosted locally has been, let's say, a main barrier in the financial industry, and therefore cloud providers who are able to offer banks the ability to store their data locally have been doing really well. So AWS has some local warehouse data tools, as does Microsoft Azure, and various use cases around data warehouse management here includes new product development based on the data available, as well as operational efficiency based on the predictive analytical capabilities that you can apply onto this data. Now, of course, with a lot of data comes data privacy. Data privacy has been coming up in the news more and more recently in relation to platforms like Facebook and Instagram. But in the banking context, the reason it's important is because keeping your data safe helps keep you safe from cyber attacks. And so data protection and consent-based information sharing policies is a trending area. Now, RegTech is, of course, not complete without regulators kind of enforcing the framework and then having the financial institutions playing in the field reporting into the framework. And so being able to transparently report what's going on internally in your financial organization to the regulators is very important. And any kind of a RegTech that can help you do this more efficiently is trending. The last area that we look into when it comes to RegTech is risk and compliance, B2B management as a whole. So we're talking about risk management solutions that covers areas like market risk, cybersecurity, and in fact, sometimes you can find ESG-focused risk management products trending in the space. Now, if we were to look at investment in this region, in this area of fintech, as of February 2021, we had about 25 deals globally. Now, moving on to the next area and kind of zooming back into the financial industry, we have all things payments. Now, all of you may have, been turned off by cash last year, but it seems like everywhere you go, no one's using cash. Everyone has finally embraced digital. But with digital payments, of course, kind of taking that one touch, let's say, upgrade to stay safe is being able to pay contactless. Now, there are various ways you can do this. Of course, a lot of banks' credit cards are now able to do tap and go, but there are also wearables that you can, as a consumer, purchase to be able to fulfill contactless payments. You can have an Apple Watch and do Apple Pay. I've seen some ring-based solutions and so on and so forth. Next up in the payments innovation space is providing payments as a service in a B2B way. Basically, there are some companies out here who are outsourcing the payments platform technology so that they can increase innovation and stay competitive. So we're talking basically on-demand payments solutions when it comes to digital cards or even wallets. Next up in the payment space that we think is trending is DLT-enabled payment processing. Again, this is a B2B application. So with this, what this feature will be able to enable is peer-to-peer transactions. And even though peer-to-peer transactions has been, let's say, limited in the UAE because of regulatory requirements, the KSA regulators have been embracing it. So as a region, we see this to be quite a trending area. Now, last but not least, another area of payments that is being disruptive is real-time payment systems. Again, this is more of a B2B application where multiple solutions are being launched that enable instant embedded payment solutions. And if we look at the investment numbers in the payment space, you'll see that the numbers are far greater than all the other areas we've seen actually combined. And that's because payments tends to be something that integrates in people's daily lives. So there's a lot of innovation in the space. And if we look at February, investments made as of February this year, there were about 104 deals in the space globally. Now let's talk about lending and all things lending. Now this, of course, applies to both Islamic and non-Islamic lending. So we're just taking lending as a general term. And by all means, all I hear my partners saying they want to tap into is buy now, pay later. So I personally have been shopping in some retail stores where I see it being offered at the cashier front. There are a few companies in the region that are very up and coming, namely Tabby and Postpay, that are both established here in the DIFC and have raised considerable funding to get the operations going. But the point of buy now, pay later is to help consumers purchase things that they otherwise would not have been able to by splitting their payments into equal installments at no interest. And the model here is that you charge the merchant in order to bring to them an inflow of customers who will be interested in the space. Now, next up in the lending space is alternate credit scoring. And basically what this means is as a bank does an evaluation of either you as a consumer or an institution as to whether or not you're credit worthy. There are alternative data models that can now be applied using fintech technology to identify credit worthiness. And this basically allows banks to have customized loan offerings as well based on the type of customers and their respective alternative credit scores. Now, the last area that I want to pick on in lending is digital commercial lending. And basically, there's been a focus on digital business loans because of what was going on with the pandemic last year. We saw a lot of governments lend out stimulus packages to institutions to help them stay afloat. So various use cases we've seen here is digital loans being offered to businesses using alternative credit data to kind of speed up the issuance process. Now, if you look at investment numbers, this isn't as, let's say, active as out of the space as payments, but definitely more than banking infrastructure, insurtech, and RegTech. So as of February this year, we saw 66 deals globally. Now, the last area that I want to run you all through is trends in investment technology. And let's begin by talking about trading platforms. Don't know if you guys follow stock market news, but what was really, really trending this year is GameStop and what happened with Robinhood as a result. Basically, when in the hands of consumers goes a stimulus package, it seems like people found trading in the trading world to be a very interesting space indeed. So by far, there's a lot of activity going on here globally, and big platforms like Robinhood now see values worth billions of dollars. Another area that is trending here is portfolio management, particularly when it comes to individuals and how they do their personal budgeting and portfolio management. We basically see innovation in the PFM space when it comes to visualization. So helping people not just, put together an Excel sheet, but have a more interactive and visually, let's say, enabled way to manage their personal finances. We've also seen some very interesting instances of gamification being applied in order to stimulate portfolio compiling strategies. Now, the last area of investment tech that I'd like to cover for the day that is trending is robo-advisory. Now, unlike active trading, which is what e-trading is all about, robo-advisory is more about enabling passive investments to be conducted either by institutions or individuals. And the trends we see here is specialized pricing structures that are enabled based on various robo. Now, investments in investment tech is kind of up par with payments. As of February 2021, we saw 100 deals being closed in the space, again, globally. And with that, I'd like to thank you all very much for sitting through my explanation of what we view are trends. If you're a fintech, I really invite you to apply to our accelerator program. We're currently receiving applications for the year. All you need to do is go to fintechhive.ae, scroll to the bottom. In the footer, you'll see a button that says register your startup. You fill out the form. I promise you it takes less than 5 minutes to complete, given you have all the information handy. Alternatively, if you're an institution and you're looking to work with us to discuss what are your fintech and innovation requirements for the year, reach out to me. And the last call of action I'll put your way is if you're an investor and you think, okay, all this is super exciting and I want to invest in fintech startups, also reach out to me through the email provided here. We basically have a scale-up program that is all about bringing together startups and investors in order to close out deals. With that, thank you all very much for attending, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the GFF event.